Buckle up. This might be a little bit longer today. Community. That's the thing I want to talk about. That's the thing that is the reason I'm doing this, to sit here and connect with people who are sort of in this position or curious about this position being middle-aged dude, refactoring his life, building a business, new business, whatever, and the sort of trials and tribulations of all of that. And you may ask, well, why this? Why a video? Why community? And if you know me, then you know that community is sort of a big deal in my life. Why? I don't have a clue. None whatsoever. But I'm pretty damn passionate about it. And I don't feel like we as people can ever succeed without this notion of community. And community is this overloaded word, and it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for the sake of this rant, it means a group of like-minded people who want to see one another succeed, who really have no necessarily bearing to be together other than that one particular item. So this may be your faith, maybe it's your soccer club, maybe it's a hobby that you have, or an automobile club, or your entrepreneurialism, or your nerdism for work, whatever. You can be in multiples of them, but they're like such the backbone of the very existence of why we live kind of like we do. And I, right now, am at this weird intersection where things are like changing and morphing, and I'm morphing, and in some cases I see things a little bit differently than I did a long time ago. And I just got to get it out. Because it's just like we need them, but it takes work, and it takes people who want to see them curated. So what do I mean? I'm going to use Soccer Clark as the example here. You see, Soccer Clark was once a parent who, well, I guess I'm still a parent, but at one time was a parent who had a little child, two little children, who started to play ball. And like every parent back in the day, you sort of are like pushing your kids into the nests or out of the nest to try different things, whether it was baseball or this or that or whatever, it didn't matter. And soccer was one of those activities that we did. And I can remember those very first interactions of where a coach who's a friend of mine even to today, reached out his hand and welcomed, my son onto the field. And, as a small child, you see the fear and the newness of like this whole thing. And there's all these people like doing this shit, and it can be super intimidating because you're not part of that thing, right? And then as time went on, right, you become more ingrained in that thing, whether it's you with your child, again, we're just using the soccer example here, or you with the other parents, or maybe you're like me and you go way too far and you go get licensed as a coach and you become a coach in the travel program, and now you're looking from a different direction and you have a different set of responsibilities, whether that's being the coach on the field to the kid, the role model, the person who's the advocate for your child, the coach back to the parent, the person in the community. You gain a lot of responsibility in that thing. And the thing, right, the community, the thing that people are all here for, right? All of those people have to sort of like curate it. They all have a role. The parents have a role. The referees have a role. The club has a role. All of it has a role. And my argument here is that we need to respect that, and we need to curate it. Otherwise, the community dissipates and it goes away, or it morphs into something that maybe is not aligned with the values of those who maybe started it or who run it or moderate it, whatever it could be. Otherwise, it'll take on a shape that it's just, who knows? And so there's this active role. So let's go back to the soccer example. If I want good athletes, then they need to have a good regimen of what they're doing, right? We need to have people show up to practice. We need to have conditioning. We need to have nutrition. We need to have how we're going to respect the field, how we're going to respect other players. How do we interact with the parents? Like all of that. Same token, the parents on the side. How are you going to display sportsmanlike conduct? How are you going to let the refs do what the refs need to do? Like, it just keeps going. And so the thing that I'm seeing that misses all of this is the intentionality of what we want that thing to be. Like, when do people sit down and say, this is how I want it to feel. This is how I want people to feel. I want them with the warm embrace of like, you're part of this club and that means something, right? You should feel a certain way. You should feel a certain obligation to give back or be part of whatever it is. You should feel it. And this is true with all things in life, period. Like, it's not just that maybe you have a soccer family, if you will, or a football family, or your high school kids, or your local community, whatever it is. There's just a fucking role that we all play in it, and we need to acknowledge it. And what I'm getting tired of is seeing when we're not doing that. Part and parcel. Fast forward, and I'm taking pictures on the field last night at a game that I've done for 5 years, 10,000 pictures that I just give back to the school and to the kids and whatever, the parents, because I got the freaking lens and the camera. I'm not a photographer, but just it's a thing that I can do to help all of them live in the moment that we're doing. And last night, I was kicked off the field, told that we do not allow people other than press to take pictures. Now, where the fuck has that come from? It's been 5 years. I have been at tournaments. I have walked everywhere, done it. Nobody has ever given me anything. Now, here's my point. Okay, maybe it's the rule. I don't care. I'm not mad about it. What I'm mad about is that it's been 5 years. The same individuals have seen me. I've had 2 kids at this school. I know everybody. There's no fucking reason for it. The intentionality of what we're trying to create went away. We're either holding a power or a this or a that, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the community at that point lost a little bit. Now let me zoom back out. I mentioned I was a coach. I watched our original club, who had 300 members in it, or 300 athletes, I should say, get merged with another club, and then it turned to a bunch of shit, and there'd be a whole bunch of crap that led it. And you watched these kids. Now I'm in the position where it's 10 years later. So I've seen this evolution. And what I'm seeing is when it wasn't intentionally managed, when it wasn't part of the ecosystem of which it fucking lives in, that it starts to die. I'm seeing that children that I had 8, 10 years ago, some were never presented with the opportunity to become a youth coach or a youth referee, to give back to the ones who were younger than them. They don't know that, like, that circle. They didn't get involved in that circle because those who were leading weren't thinking about what their place was in the grander scheme of things. And if you just propel that forward, what you see is the fact that end of that cycle, you're seeing a trail off of the athletes who are now available to play. We haven't curated. We've done no succession planning. We've just fucking hoped that it would come together because people did a thing. And it doesn't work that way. It has to have some intentionality. It has to be involved. You have, in the case of the soccer program, you need to be involved in the schools. You need to be involved with the village. You need to be involved with the high school so that these things move and these people continue to grow. And that's what a community is. That is where your youngest learn or take inspiration from others who the elders help teach so you don't repeat history, so that we don't do this. And collectively, we start to stack the fucking wins. Otherwise, narratives are made up and shit happens that you don't necessarily want. And now a seamless thing from somebody who's trying to contribute gets smacked the fuck down and it doesn't happen. Now, I know I'm coming strong today. I realize that. But I look back at the things that I have done, and they've all been centered around community. That conference, for example, if you think that I didn't take the words that are coming out of my mouth seriously, you would be mistaken. Because I wanted people to feel a certain way when you came to our event. I wanted you to feel like you were part of something. I wanted you to be able to find people that were like you so you could do that thing and grow. I wanted other people who had skills without names or brands or whatnot to find the people who wanted to grow. So that together the shared pain would go away and our larger community would be better as a result of it. Because we'd be working with the companies and the other user groups and the other events and the other things without motive of like, I'm better than anybody else, but with a motive of collectively we win. Collectively, we can do more than anybody else because we were working together. Fuck, it's a simple concept. But you just look around and you go, how is this shit happen? Like, what's going on? I'm not an overly religious person. I believe faith plays a role. I believe we're by a higher power, all of that stuff. Why is it crumbling? What is going on? And we don't need to get into this theological debate in the comments. That's not the point. The point is it's a community, right? Sports are a community. Your high school, your elementary school, your village, your town or city, all of these things are community, and we're not fucking participating. This right here, you and me, this is a community. This is a community of which I'm trying to start so we can have conversations about how to do things like this, how to grow in business, how to grow ourselves as a 50-year-old, well, I'm not 50 yet, damn it, 49-year-old man who has seen some shit over his time, just want to help. And much like my soccer example, I feel guilty. If anything, I'm not mad about last night. I'm not mad about, I am guilty that I didn't stand up and say, fuck no, more needs to happen. That I didn't fight for the kids then as we would grow up now. I let the elders, if you will, merge the clubs and do the things. Not that I was in any position of power to change any of that. But now when I look back, I go, we have fucked the community here. Because there's not a program that cares about our athletes here. Now, I'm sure if you ask the leaders of that club, they would sit there and they would say, yeah, no, we totally care. Yeah, we're totally. No, you care about the paycheck. What you're not doing is getting involved in the community here because you don't live here. You live over there. And even if over there is 5, 10 miles, whatnot, you're in a different village, in a different town, in a different community. So you don't show up at the places where all this is. And I just look to now and I say, I look in the stands and I go, where's the people? Where's the youngins? Where's the local hero that these kids, these younger kids can look up to? Because they're not looking up to me. They're looking up to those who are slightly older. And I'm just using that as one of just the many examples of the thing that I'm part of. But I challenge you to think about what you're doing in your community and why you're doing certain things, whether it's at work or at play or whatever. Without it, we have a void as a human. And I am super passionate about that. And I'm not starting or refactoring Unspecified without that central community aspect that says yes, we provide a service, and yes, there's a financial transaction that happens as part of it, but yes, you could still be involved even if there isn't a financial transaction in such a way that you can grow and find other people who are in the same place, because we're united by the same goal. And in the case of Unspecified or any other business, right, it's the service that they provide or the thing that they're involved in, that's their goal. If you're a design company, it's about branding or packaging or whatever. In our case, it's about helping small and medium businesses do more with less. How do they use software to complement and modernize their business so that they can have people who are doing the shit that they need to do and make less mistakes and respond faster and all of that, right? We're in the age right now of the workplace changing. And that's where we're going to play. But also, I'm a soccer person, and I'm a this, and I'm a that, and I'm a coder. So I'm still involved in all of those, and I still want to see them all grow. And I, like you, have the responsibility to be involved in the example of what we want to see moving forward.